F, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Iron Realm Media's Have No Sphere show. My name is Josh Corey. We've got a full house. We've got Walt, Zach, Adam, and John Savage with us today. We've got a special guest, Karen B, joining us. Always a good time when Karen joins us here at the Realm. Stick around, it's going to be a good time.
We are the way, we are the way, we are not alone. We are striving for more. We are the way, we are the way, we are not alone. We are striving for more. IRM Media.
That is some awesome stuff. Well, let's just jump right in and say hello to the fellas. Let me say, how about Adam? I don't usually do Adam first. Adam, how are you doing today? How was work?
Busy. Christmas is coming and people are panicking. But no, really busy. And just a quick shout out on that note. The reason it was busy is one of the lovely ladies I work with had to go into hospital. Got atrial fibrillation is the thing, and she's going to be okay. But shout out to Charlotte, love and prayers and thoughts with you, honey.
I suffer from atrial fibrillation as well. It's scary stuff.
They've booked her in. They're going to try and put her back in sync, basically. So shock it back, I think. But yeah, at least they're taking note of it. It's something she's had. This is how crap this country is, you know. Something she's had for years, and suddenly now they're going to help her. So that's the bonus. Yeah. Sending a bit of love out to Charlotte.
Make sure she takes her aspirin. Got to watch out for blood clots when you suffer from AFib. So,
well, they've started her on one of these new anticoagulant things, rather Roboxone. Xarelto, I think it'll probably be called.
That's scary in and of itself. That's a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff over these, but I won't go into them now. But yeah.
Well, I hope everything gets better, or at least improves somewhat.
Yeah, but other than that, bloody busy week, mate. To be honest with you, chatting with lots and lots. I told you it'd come back eventually. I told you. So obviously with you guys, had a good chat with Gary and Dee Dee. They were kind enough. They were going to tell me who they've got lined up, right? And I said, don't, because I'll cock it up and I will spill the beans. So they're not going to tell me that. But they did share some of the details of the venue. And I've got to be honest, man, it looks awesome. And I was chatting with him, Zach, having a look round, Zach, to see where we can possibly get our little planned exhibit of the Zavala formula. So, yeah, a good evening there. And other than that, I do want to give just one big shout out to a guy that got in touch with me this week. It was to do with the maths I was babbling on about last week, and as opposed to me on paper, it's a guy called Adrian Fry. Shout out Adrian, top bloke, and we sat just chatting for a bit. But he's really good at modelling it. He's got I opened up the computer program, and that was about as much as I could manage. But yeah, he's really quite skilled at this. But what he was showing is from what I could tell and what we were chatting, because we didn't sit there hours going through it, but the angles were the same and the same values we were using. So the theory behind it seemed to match up. But yeah, nice bloke. I want to catch up with him again as soon as I get a bit of time. But yeah, shout out to Adrian Fry there, mate. And yeah, that was the week that was. Looking forward to tonight.
That was quite a busy week.
That's why you don't introduce Adam first.
Maybe why did it first tonight?
As opposed to our king of succinctness, one Mr. John Savage. John, how was your week?
Good. Looking forward to tonight. How about you, Zach? See, I could whittle on about plumbing and all sorts of cack that I've been up to, and fixing the heating out in my bloody bus again. No. It's
You've been doing a bit of plumbing, John, or just
Pick any locks.
yeah. Do you want it all? Yeah. I've got a new lock picking set, and it's arrived, and it was meant to take 6 weeks. It came here in 2, and it's just been sat there, and it's perfect for Euro cylinder locks, nice and thin, long picks. But I'm being very good and disciplined. I'm not opening it until my wife leaves me this month to bugger off to Australia. So my Christmas will be early. And the dogs.
Good things come to those who wait.
I've waited long enough. I want to pick me little Euro cylinders. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on, Zach. Yes, let's get right into Zach. Zach, how are you, sir?
Well, it's been a wonderful week. I hope y'all can hear me. It's raining like cats and dogs here in Texas. But it's been a wonderful. I've had internet for a few days, so I've been really enjoying it. And I got a few leaks in the tent. Haven't seen rain for like a month and a half, and I had a couple of mishaps happen. And yeah, there's a couple of leaks, but I'm staying dry, and Hank and I are healthy, so I'm not going to worry about it. Life is very good. I'm happy.
Just remember to take off your scissor hands when
I
you
hope
go
you
in the
don't
tent.
understand any of that. Yeah, exactly.
Mishaps. That sounds
But
interesting.
no, I have a little bit more repairs. Yeah, but no, it's been a wonderful week. I can't complain. On my way to Florida here pretty soon, so
That's going to
hopefully
be
it'll be a
exciting.
little bit warmer down there. Yeah, I'll be visiting Walt here in a little bit. Excited to see him again. Yeah, life is good. I can't. He's been treating me well lately. Been selling some hats, so I've been busy. Yeah, I'm floating on cloud 9. I'm just glad to be here. I love Fridays.
I saw you got a shout out for your hats there, mate, as well today. Someone was. Have you seen it?
Yeah, the plain truth, Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that warmed my heart, man. That just really feel real good. He's a great guy, and I don't know what else to say about him. He's a good friend too. We've been chatting a lot more lately and stuff like that, and I don't know. He always says stuff about me that just makes me want to start crying. It's just like, dude, come on, quit blowing smoke up my ass. Come on.
Well,
But, no,
you actually received a title this week as well, didn't you? Didn't you receive an award of some sort? Or I don't know. I saw a video out there. I assumed you must have gotten an award in the mail, or they're sending it to you. But didn't you somehow receive
me?
the Someone awarded you the
Yeah, I
title
did
of the
see about that.
stupidest person on the planet Earth? Didn't I see that somewhere?
Oh yeah, that wasn't this week though. That was years ago.
Oh, was it years ago?
Yeah. No, that was
Well, we would have
Yeah,
been
that was
in your title a long time
when
ago.
I made that Stephen
Also-
Hawking video.
It's just a man of many titles, Mr. Zavala.
Too nice for rice. The nomad, stupidest man on the planet Earth. Zabal.
My mate.
Yeah, I
Well,
love it.
The last for this evening, but always the first in our hearts. One Mr. Walter Johnson. Walt, how are you doing tonight?
That's right. Walt's back. No mask this week, damn it. Love the title. Loved the title last week. That was good. I laughed when I saw it. I missed you guys. I missed you guys for sure last week. And we had a great little birthday session. I'll have a little something to show everyone. Hopefully I'll pick it up this weekend. Some of my artwork I endeavored with for Michelle's event that we had there. I won't spoil it. You'll see hopefully next week.
Tease.
I know, right? Well, I mean, all I could do right now would be show you a picture that won't do it justice because it hasn't been fired yet. I've been told when it got fired, it would bring out the colors and it would look like a whole different piece. So then you can show the before and after. But if you just show the before and now, it's really drab and not really colorful. And trying to hold the suspense. Do what?
I said, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Is it practical? Is it just a piece of art?
No, it's just its coolness. It's just coolness. I couldn't really create as much as I thought I would be able to in this adventure. I wasn't actually throwing clay or anything, but I made it appropriate. You'll see.
Is it an ashtray?
No, just
that's all I ever made in pottery.
You'll see. Oh no, it was no.
Is it a 3-foot water pipe?
None of those. None of those.
Not a bong, because you can't use that word.
That's what I thought.
Not that. Like I said, if I'd have been able to throw some clay, then we could have had a water base. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but yeah. Or at least that's what I told my grandma it was every time she came by the house. That's my base. Don't worry about the flowers not in it. That's okay. The water's a little smelly. Anyway, moving on. Hello, everybody else.
So here's something I thought was kind of cool.
Well, how was your week, Josh?
I was getting into it, you pushy
That's
back.
all right. No, I just thought you was going to move on. I was thinking, poor Josh, it's not fair.
Nope, I was actually going to get into it because it is really kind of cool. Every year, just before Thanksgiving, just before really Black Friday, my girlfriend gets her bonus from work, and this year was a pretty decent bonus, I guess, as far as bonuses go, but about 40 to 45% of it went to taxes, which was just a bit ridiculous. So it left her with just not nearly as much as she was hoping, considering what it was that they gave her. So we had the whole conversation on, well, how would we do best to keep them out of our money? And of course, the only thing we could come up with would be to form a whole new entity, right? You take her entity and my entity and you join them together and you create a new entity, and that new entity gets better tax benefits. So we've decided that's what we're going to do. Going to go ahead and probably next week run over to the Justice of the Peace and create that new entity.
You're going to get married.
Congratulations.
Well done.
That's one of those things. We've both already been married. Both of our spouses cheated on us with someone from our church and left us with that person.
So much in common.
We understand very well how meaningless the vows of a traditional marriage can be. So
you could always create a trust.
We could.
Be a lot easier. Probably a lot more expensive, actually. Although maybe not in the long run.
But I don't know we'd necessarily get all the same tax benefits, especially when it comes to trying to cash our bonus checks. So that's exciting. We ordered just a couple cool little rings off the internet. It's got the abalone shell in it. It's really cool little rings. It's just going to be a quick little ceremony up at the courthouse, and that'll be it.
I think that's brilliant, pal. I really do. Congratulations.
That's how paperwork we're going to have. Is she's going to keep her name. It's just really, we're doing it for tax reasons only. We know that if the other wants to bail, that it's going to happen. So it's not like it's a necessarily these are forever vows, because those vows are said regardless of whether or not we have that piece of paper. So the piece of paper just gives us tax break. That's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it at least.
I agree with you there, Josh, but I think that I challenge you that on the day when you say those in front of people other than your future wife, that you say those words and in front of everyone. There's something special about it, mate. It's one of the strong. I don't have many strong memories from the past, really, but they're still vivid, and I still well up. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of the best. Ours was a religious service, but I wasn't taken by the the religious aspect of the service. It was the announcing our love to everybody else that was in our lives, and that was whatever reason it's for. I think it'll still be lovely.
I forgot my wedding day the day after.
What a shock.
Yeah, right. It's a good job we
Did you
recorded
record
it.
it,
Yeah. Don't worry. And I remind her every day, in sickness and in health.
Don't forget. You said you'd be here even if I was sick. Love you, bye. Good night, sweetie. Love you. Just remember, you said you'd be here even if I was sick.
Actually, I got married twice. Once in this country and once in Australia. And that was by my wife's grandfather, which was all very interesting. To me, obviously.
Just what's the date you're going for, Josh? Is there any numerology in there, or just out of curiosity, is it?
Well, you know me and number.
Easy.
But she actually did work it out. She actually took like the numbers of our birthdays and added them up to the lowest single digit, then added them all up, and then came up with a date of the 17th, which we were going to shoot for. But my mom is coming into town at one point. She'll be here on the 13th, I think. So really, the plan is, because we don't want a big to-do, we're not going to tell anybody really until after the fact. And I know that none of my family listens to this.
Well, are you lucky that we don't have that same reach?
So you've legally given notice here on the air, and everything's covered.
No, so I was just going to take my mom, after she's in town, down to her parents, and her parents are pretty religious, and they're going to be thrilled that we are no longer living in sin. So we were just going to take them down and have a dinner and just say, all right, look, here's what we did. It's done. You can congratulate us all you want, but there's going to be no more to do. You're not having any say in the matter because it's already taken care of.
Damn, you got some longevity on your side there, Josh. Your mum's mum and dad?
Well, no. My mom, sorry, and then Dixie, my girlfriend. Her mom and dad.
Right, I gotcha.
Right.
I thought, bloody hell. Doing
That
well.
would be serious
That
longevity.
would be right.
But because I didn't want to necessarily do it while my mom was in town and have to make it a point to exclude her from it, because that would just be rude as fuck. So I decided to just say, screw the 17th. Let's do it before she gets here. That way she can't get mad at me for excluding her and doing it when she's already here. So we'll do it beforehand and just tell them after she gets here.
Good luck with that.
What's the worst that could happen?
You've got her a TV.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother story. See, my mom's a bit of a hoarder. And when I say a bit of a hoarder, she's like a full-blown hoarder. She would be on the TV show, but she wouldn't let the camera crew inside her house. Really, she's the only person to have stepped foot inside of her house in like 15 years. But she does hoard stuff, and one of the things she happens to have is two 55-inch flat screen high def TVs sitting in her garage. Right, she doesn't have room to put them up anywhere. There's nowhere to set them. There's boxes and stuff everywhere. So she just got them just in case.
I'm sure you've got a basement you could use them in.
Well, here in Missouri, she's in Georgia. She's 10 hours away. A 10-hour drive. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's got them there. But we didn't want to wait for her to move back because she's been saying she's going to move back to Missouri for the last 20 years. So rather than wait for her to bring the 55-inch TVs that she has already, we just went ahead and bought one for her for when she gets here to visit. I mean, because when she's here to visit, she doesn't have anything to watch because we don't really watch TV. We have the
Everyone's
Fire
buying TVs.
because they're cheap.
Dunno, we've just been talking to Rob, haven't we? What was this, 75 foot or something?
Cheap mind control. I mean, it's the best kind. The kind that's cheap.
I think it was quarter the size of the East Coast where he's at. He was bragging. It's 75 inches.
I thought it was 75 foot or something. Anyway, guys, we've done the 20 minutes of
Yes,
dulling
we
the
have.
tits out
Yes,
of
we have.
any
Boy, do I
potential
like to cheer.
ballers, talking over each other and all the rest of it. So we could probably get onto a bit of flat earths now that they've probably all buggered off.
I've not run out of waffle yet, mate.
I'll carry on then.
There was one thing from this week, because I felt a little rushed, John, to be honest with you. I'm trying to summarise my week. But one of the best bits was...
Get on with it.
Where did you go, Savage? The phone rang back straight away. It was like, yeah. But we had a quick chat with Martin on... What night was it? Was that
Last night?
Well, that was last night.
Even I remember that.
This week has been insane.
Where did
but it
I
was
go?
last night.
Well, we went. and I
Everyone
looked
buggered
at
off.
it, And the phone rang again, yeah. And you didn't come back. Just
Well,
left.
I'd obviously buggered off by that stage because everyone else had buggered off.
Well, I was buggering off, but I buggered back.
Well, I don't have that luxury. You know, I'm either here or I'm not.
But yeah, so we had a bit of a pre-show, didn't we, with Martin before today, and I thought that was worth a mention. And the fact that we upset Walt because me and Josh ram-raided Martin's eBay account and bought all the watches before Walt could set an account up. So
That'd be faster with your fingers, Walt.
yeah.
Do you want to put some
I see that.
context
I'm
on
seeing
that
I'm definitely seeing that.
for those
It's
of
a
us?
beautiful handmade watch. I would love to show you, but I can't even get to the picture now. I'm not allowed to see it on eBay anymore.
I can in my purchase list.
So how many people do you reckon that are listening now or in the future have any idea what you're talking about?
Okay. You want some context, don't you, Mr. Savage?
Context.
Would be good.
Right.
Would be good.
So-
Was I the only one who didn't come back last night? Was everyone else there?
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
Literally straight.
Even Zach got in on it.
All right.
Yep, you
Yeah.
came back.
Rob came in.
Don't know what happened there. But yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
So Martin, a while back, wasn't he? Has been sent a load of handmade, the faces and the detail of the handmade watches that are. How would you describe them? They're not AZ maps, are they? They're kind of the old school flat maps. And it is. I'm not sure that I can't wait to see it close up. Thought there was so. They're those, and I think me and Josh were quite taken with them as Martin was describing them, and so was Walt. But you know, you snooze, you lose. So,
Especially if you don't know what time it is.
yeah. so they're all gone, but I know there are still some flat Earth British coins left on his website as well. So if you type in Flat Earth British on eBay, you can still get hold of them. Individually numbered.
Glow in the dark. Hello. Glow
I got mine off
in the
Martin at the
dark.
conference in April, and I take my glasses off. Number 83, which reduces to 11, and 2 ones, which is 2, which I don't know what that means.
Means we're all doomed.
Could well be. But yeah, we had a good morning this morning as well, guys, didn't we? With
An
Martin.
amazing morning.
I missed the end.
I knew the 2 hours would not be at all adequate. So yeah, it was great. It flew by. Oh my God.
Great introduction. It's a great way to start off a relationship with Martin Liedke and TFR.
That's not the first time you've had him on, is it?
He was here on our show on Friday afternoon with us a while back. I would guess a month and a half, 2 months ago, if not a bit longer. But we had yet to have him over there on Truth Frequency Radio on the Ironworks.
Oh.
I didn't hear the last bit either. I had to shit off. So is he assured future revisits to really go into some of this? Or
The door is always open. So
I think
that's
it
a
pissed him off.
standing
He said
invitation.
he'd come back.
Yeah, when you left, he said, "Fuck off, fuck Adam, I'm out of here."
Okay. Yeah, I've no problem with that. I can imagine it said with love. So, yeah, he's a good man. He's a good man, Martin.
And truly, I'll do my. I'm gonna I'll only throw up a half of a show to entice people to go check us out on TFR, but it'll be the one I'll put up pretty soon on both channels, mine and here on Iron Realm. That'll have the whole show. It's just too good to tease you with.
Wicked. That's cool. I think it's time.
I think so.
I have run out of waffle, Josh. So,
Well,
And my sincere apologies. Martin did not swear in any form at all. He is not a cursing man.
well, then for our featured guest for this evening is, well, I guess my dog's in the background, but also absolute friend of the show. Returning once again is Miss Karen B. Karen, welcome back to Have No Fear on the Iron Realm Media.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to hear your dulcet tones coming through my headset. That's good stuff.
Hi, Karen B. Nice to finally meet you. It's Josh Savage. You're intimidating. Something about your voice is you're quite scary and quite intimidating, I must say. Do you get that often?
Yes, people tell me that I'm scary all the time, and I don't know why. I don't do anything to
I
anybody.
think you have a teacher tone to your voice. You sound like someone's teacher. You have a very well-mannered, I don't even know how to explain it. There's an authority to your voice that just is there. And welcome, Karen, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Karen, and I've heard you go off on one person. So you can't say you've never done anything negative to somebody. I
Well,
remember the first time I heard you speak, you just went off on this guy. I fell in love with you right then. I was like, oh, this lady is awesome. I can't wait to meet you.
in my
deserved
defense, he
it, of
probably
course.
deserved it. He probably deserved it.
Absolutely.
It's that
I
dry
agree.
sense of humour, I think, that it's just, there's something about it. It's bloody scary.
Well, I mean, you know how it is in flat Earth. You know, if you're once you start to, get even just a little bit known, you start getting a lot of flack from people. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this is why we don't have women on very often, because they're just too scary for us poor little blokes. But no, it's great to meet you, finally.
good evening, Karen. It's Adam.
hi, Adam.
I wouldn't go with the scary, mate. I would say respected, and you're someone I've respected. And I think if anybody's scared of you, it's because you know what you're on about. So I don't necessarily say fear. I'd say respect, mate, because you are, to me, one of the people who are worth listening to when you post stuff, and that's happened this week. It's always relevant, not of the trivial, and on topic. And I particularly enjoyed it this week. It was a good vid. But
Well, thank you.
shoot it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And I can tell you guys from her time with us over there on Truth Frequency Radio, all we need to do is start talking a little Bigfoot, maybe some ministry, and Karen's going to listen right up. Blast.
Do the Bigfoot, because John shocked us all this week with his knowledge and blew us away and left us in the dark. So I'll hand over to Savage, who is the Sasquatch expert.
You're into Bigfoot?
You might have to remind me there, Adam, but something I said. No, I thought this was common knowledge. Karen, you probably know. I've been into Bigfoot for ages, but I'm into everything, not just Bigfoot. I mean, you name it, everything gets a fair shout and a look, and quickly trashed if it's nonsense or whatever. But Bigfoot, I think there's way more evidence for a Bigfoot than there is for the nonsense of dinosaurs or whatever. massive lizard creatures and things like that, flying feathered lizard creatures.
Yeah.
But I thought it was common knowledge that Bigfoot had been given database status. Its DNA had been, its genomes had been markered, or whatever the hell they do with it, and it had actually been given a Homo yada yada something Latin name, and was in a database. It was Sasquatch, not Bigfoot, obviously. But is that? Did I dream that? Quite possible.
No, there was a genome mapping project that was done on Bigfoot by a woman by the name of Dr. Melba Ketchum. And it was her, and there was a whole team of people. It wasn't just her, but yeah, they did a study over a course of time. They did it. I mean, I don't know how much time they spent, but they spent a good bit with a certain clan that they were watching, and that's how they mapped the genome.
And it's in the database now, isn't it? It's in the gene database as being a legitimate species. Something along those lines.
I believe so. I can't remember. It's been a while since I looked into all of that, but yeah, but it did come back as an unknown hominid. But at first it was coming back as human though, because it was so close to human and nothing else matched it. So they would send it off to these labs, and it would come back as human.
Right. And then didn't they find out that it was a human mother, but the father was unknown or something, or it was missing? Not missing. No, that's Jesus. Something along those lines, that they could identify one of them as a humanoid, but I think the father was unidentified or whatever, which got everyone's tail spinning.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
There you go.
He's gonna cop him.
It's his love child
tonight. If you've got a court case coming up, they're the kind of words you want to repeat.
Anyway, you satisfied now, Adam?
No, because there's a bit that's popped in my head with regards to this. I remember watching stuff on Chinese Bigfoot, and there was lots of like village tales about how sometimes they'd catch them, and sometimes some of the male men in the village would have intimate relationships, and the offspring would often be some kind of hybrid, really strong, tall, but often mute. They could understand, but often mute. And it wasn't just one or two, and there were photos of some of them, and they were then, I think there was an offspring of one of these people who was more human. So there was some descendancy. So I think there's, like I say, John, I give everything a fair hearing and have a little look at it. So just something else that have popped in my head tonight.
Well, there were Russian villages and things that would claim to trade with groups of Sasquatch or big hairy giants or whatever, and they'd see them. I think there was even footage of, sort of 40 or 50 of them trailing along the top of a mountain track or whatever. And like you said, they captured one, and they kept her as a sort of plaything in the village for quite a while, and I think some of the blokes had their way with them. And
yeah, that was a pretty popular story about it was a female, and yeah, she lived in a Russian village, and she did have children. But yeah, that's it's a weird story.
It is, as many of them are, but I thought the database inclusion of the genome mapping was something pretty legitimate, and something that hasn't yet been stolen by the Smithsonian.
Maybe you could email Aaron Raw and just check with him.
Oh Lord, no, thank you.
But there was the point in that classification that that was the point we were chatting about in the week, that if it has been classified, then surely that has therefore validity and takes it out of the realms of conspiracy or conjecture. If there's been a classification, I didn't.
Takes it away from the realms of Belu.
Well,
Apologies,
and,
Belu.
there's another man by the name of Dr. Jeff Meldrum who did a study on Bigfoot, and his was all on the actual footprints. And he collected as many samples of footprints that he could, and impressions of whatever other impressions they could find of him. Sometimes they can find like full body impressions or partial body impressions or handprints and stuff. Anyway, he he collected all of the footprints from them that he could find, and then when he applied them to a graph, they followed a curve of growth which matched every other mammal that is known in existence. Like there was young ones, like every age. So they were able to find enough different size footprints to show that they actually, you know, they have a growth pattern, commensurate with what you find in other mammals.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And what's a foot specialist called? Chiropodist?
Podiatry.
Podiatrist. I don't know that that's necessarily what he does, but that's the evidence that he was looking at when he was studying them, because that's the most common thing found. I mean, I've found footprints. I've found a couple of footprints on my property.
Really? Where are you?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Bloody hell. Mm-hmm. Is it like, are you near forest? It's not.
Yeah, well, yeah, I live in the woods. My house is surrounded by hardwoods.
Nice. Wow, is that freaky every now and again?
No. It can be. I mean, it's the funny thing is like I grew up in California, right near in Northern California, which is where like the name Bigfoot started, and that's where the Patterson-Gimlin film was recorded, and there's like all those Bigfoot museums over there and stuff, right? And I used to go camping in the Tahoe National Forest, and I never heard one, I never saw one, I never had any encounter. And I didn't even really think they were real. I was always kind of fascinated with it just because in that part of the country, it's talked about a lot, supposedly a lot of sightings over there with it being the Pacific Northwest and all that stuff. But I never had any experience. And at one time I had a couple of friends that they went camping and they came back and they were like swearing up and down that there was a Bigfoot at their camp, and they heard, and I was like, you guys smoke too much weed. Like, no, right? I didn't believe it. Until and then I moved to North Carolina, and I'm telling you, man, the first year that I was here, I had an encounter, and they just kept happening, like more and more and more. So much, and I've had so many encounters at this point that when I sit down with somebody and I have a conversation, I forget to tell them stuff because so much stuff has happened. I'll be like, oh yeah, and then there was this other time that blah 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 happened. Like that's how active it is here.
And do your neighbours concur, or have you spoken to them about it?
Only one of them, and she was like, no, I don't think so. They were not really into it. But then I had this one neighbor. When we had bought the property that I live on now, before we had a house here, and I would tell her that I would, walk on the property. I would take my dog for a walk on the property. She'd be like, we used to camp over there way back when we'd go across the street and go camping by the creek. She's like, you really shouldn't go in those woods without a sidearm.
Just what you want to hear. Have you got a big dog?
Yeah, I have a pit.
Nice.
A pit bull. He's a big boy. He's like 80 pounds. But I walk in the woods all the time by myself, with the dog, without the dog. I don't ever bring a sidearm or a weapon, and I've never had any problem.
Well, have you heard? I mean, it goes deep, obviously, but these things are claimed to be telepathic or on some sort of higher sense. Then it would probably be a really bad idea to bring a firearm with you, because that brings intent and hostility and I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think a firearm would do you any good
That
against
too.
one. I think it's pointless to even try it. I don't think you can just it's they're very
Resilient.
well, the thing about them is they're physical beings, but they're not like us. They're way more advanced. Like people try to talk about, oh, they're, some leftover relic, primate like Gigantopithecus or whatever, but no, that's not what they are. And in fact, I typically, when I talk about them, I don't refer to them as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I like to say forest people because they're a people. They have a language, they have a family structure, they have intelligent thought, they're, sentient. It's like, I think it's really, you're really not giving them the credit when you say that when somebody says that they're a gorilla or like a North American ape, because that's not at all what they are.
Or the weaponized Bigfoot. The word
Right.
Bigfoot now is synonymous with, you're just an idiot. Or that, didn't they have a Bigfoot on that program? Man on the
Harry
Moon.
and the Hendersons.
No, was it? It's the intro to Jaren's
Shout out
thing.
to Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah. Oh, one time I went to Universal Studios, and that guy was walking around in the Harry and the Hendersons
Oh,
costume.
that's what's up. Oh, that'd
And
been amazing.
and Paul's in the chat calling me a shill.
That's why we have her here, man. We're trying to pull it out of her.
Anyways, that guy, like, because they ask you for volunteers to, participate in whatever they're doing, whatever demonstration they're doing about special effects in Universal Studios, and I got picked. And so I went backstage and I was sitting back there, and here comes Bigfoot walking around the corner, and he starts picking through my hair. And I looked up at him and it freaked me out. Do you know how real that thing looks? That suit? I mean, I
And
could
he's
not
humongous.
believe it.
He's a huge guy that's in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it was mind blowing.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Well, up north
Creepy.
in Shreveport, Keithville area up there where I spent my teenage years, they're known to be there, and people see them all the time, hunters, and they just kind of accept it as part of the area. And one time somebody on my uncle's area there where they lived hit one and messed the car up, as bad as like hitting a cow or something else. They tracked it through the woods, trying to see if it was hurt or whatever for days, literally, and they never found it, body hurt, any of that. So
Yeah, because they
very
didn't hurt
resilient.
it. 'Cause
Right.
they didn't hurt it.
They didn't even phase it.
All right. Yeah, but there's this Facebook group, and they have a YouTube channel by the same name that's called Team Squatchin' USA. And this group is run by a guy named Dr. Matthew Johnson, and he is a real doctor, not like a medical doctor, but he's a doctor of psychology, a practicing psychologist. He has his own practice, and he runs this group. And they are the best group if you want to really know what the forest people are all about and everything that they do, everything that people witness, like unfiltered, uncensored, because they talk about everything. They talk about stuff that the BFRO won't talk about. Like the BFRO stance is that they're a relic ape, right? That's what they think. They think that Bigfoot is a big North American ape and that it's not as intelligent as people. That's their stance on it, which is completely wrong. But the Team Squatchin' USA group, they don't censor anything. They talk about everything. There's people there that communicate with them on a regular basis, spoken communication and telepathic communication. They've seen them go through portals, uh, appear and disappear. Like basically, like they can sort of slip in and out of this dimension on demand. They call it the woo. Like there's a whole bunch of paranormal stuff that goes along with Sasquatch and the forest people that most people don't talk about. Like everything you see on the History Channel or the Science Channel or Animal Planet is completely wrong. It's all that's all lies. Like making them look like they're aggressive and that or like that they're going to kidnap people or they hurt. That's all of it's wrong. It's like I feel like all that stuff is made to just make people afraid of them, because if it's one of those things where it's like if people weren't afraid of them and didn't have that sort of ingrained in them, maybe they might be more open to communicating with them, and they would probably start learning stuff from them that quote unquote they don't want us to know. You know what I mean? It's like you're talking about an intelligent um, of being that is living alongside us here on this plane. They've been here either as long as us or longer, and they don't have, they're not living under the same system that we are. They don't have anybody pumping poison into their bodies. They don't have anybody indoctrinating them with a bunch of lies. They live free. They live in, perfect harmony with everything and everyone on this earth. They are able to live their whole lives basically developing the abilities that they were born with and use them. So, if and they're very similar to us. Like I believe that we have some of the abilities that they have. Like I'm not saying like we can slip in and out of dimensions on demand. Maybe we could, maybe we can't. I don't know yet, but I feel like if we were able to sort of have an open line of communication with them, there's a lot of things that we would learn about ourselves that would just blow the doors off of everything. That's my opinion. Anyway.
And I mean, they must hate humans, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it's no wonder that they would avoid us like the bloody plague, and if they had more land to go to, they would. But they must hate us.
John, don't you think? I mean, I've listened there, Karen, and the opinion that mainstream science, as we see there, is they're portrayed as some form of lesser hominid, at best an offshoot. That's, but as you're saying there, John, the reality is, and maybe the reason for their isolation or lack of contact with us, maybe not isolation, is they probably look at us as lesser beings.
Yeah.
I think most species on Earth probably look at us as lesser beings, really.
Yeah.
Dolphins are smug, mate. I know that for a fact.
Those whales too. You gotta watch those whales.
I have a theory too about the forest people and that Patterson Gimlin film. Like, okay, so that to this day is the best recorded video that anybody has ever gotten of a Bigfoot, right?
Can you just remind us of that? Is that the one across the stream, or is that the one where it's got a baby? Have you seen the one where it's got a baby in its hands and it's?
Yes.
You think it's bull?
No, I don't know. I think there's other legitimate video of them, but the one that I'm referring to is the one that was taken in the late 60s by by the two guys who went into the woods on horseback, and they recorded it with a Super 8.
That's the haunting one, isn't it? That's the one that messes with your head as a kid.
The one where they recorded her for well over a minute walking across the valley and then up into the woods.
Yeah.
Like that's the best one, right? After that, it was like everybody was going into the woods to try to hunt them and find them. And I think that once that happened, they were like, oh shit, they're after us. And then they stopped letting themselves be recorded. They stopped, they hid themselves more because we were hunting them. So I think that's what happened. In my opinion, it seems to be that way. I mean, because what happens, if people go in the woods with guns and they're going after you, they just, and from what I've heard from the researchers in Team Squatch in USA, like they talk about how once you communicate with a member of any clan, right? Any clan, any forest person, anywhere. Once they know about you, or that one knows about you, well, then they all know about you. They all know that you are friendly to them. It's like they have a sort of collective consciousness that they're able to access. So once you communicate with one somewhere, you can go anywhere and communicate with another clan easily.
Sort of 100 monkey syndrome sort of thing.
Right. Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of, but not 100. One monkey. Sorry.
Except monkeys.
Not even a monkey. Yeah, no, that's... yeah. I'll shut up now, shall I? So...
Well, one of my bucket lists is to meet and make friends with an animal that's bigger than me. I'm sorry, I think I would probably shit my pants if I saw Bigfoot, like
yeah,
up close.
And they realize that too.
Me, I don't know.
Yeah, they realize that their appearance is very intimidating.
I like to think that I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'll be in my woods and I'll feel like maybe there might be one or some around, and I'm like, oh man, is today gonna be the day I see one? Because I haven't actually like had a Class A sighting where I'm like, yep, that was a Bigfoot. But I did have a couple of instances where I might have seen one where I went out and outside in my backyard and I saw a figure walking into the woods, and the first thing in my mind was like, is somebody trespassing? Because I live on 20 acres and I live right in the center of those 20 acres, right? So if I can see you from my house, you are trespassing. Wow. So I saw something walk in the woods, and I thought, there's a person. First thing I thought, that's a person walking in the woods. And I was like, hello. And I was like calling out to them, and I walked back there, and they disappeared. Whatever it was disappeared very quickly into the woods. I didn't see it. I stood there for a few minutes calling out, and I just stood there looking into the woods for a minute. And the next thing I know, I heard this crazy sound, this crazy, like howling, yowling, screaming sound. And I was like, what in the F was that? Right. And then the next thing I know, I hear something pounding, running on the hillside, not directly towards me, but running out towards the power line. And I could barely see the top of it, like the top of whatever it was running, because it was down the hill and it was dark. I couldn't decipher what it was, but whatever it was dark, a dark color, because it was still daytime when this happened. And that is probably the closest. I'm pretty sure that was one. Like, I can't explain it by any other animal. It just does, nothing else makes sense, because there's no bears here. There's white-tailed deer, but I see them all the time, and they don't sound like that. They don't howl like that. They're very light on their feet. I mean, this thing was pounding the ground, running out towards the power line. It was crazy.
That sounds pretty mad, man.
Yeah, that's intense. Intense.
Yeah. And I've also had one another time. Actually, most of the things that happen during the day. That's another thing that is BS, like as far as like finding Bigfoot shows go. They're always going out at night, making a bunch of noise, acting like a bunch of idiots. That's why they never find. First of all, you don't find Bigfoot. Bigfoot finds you, first of all. Second of all, everything that I've ever encountered most of the time has been in the day. Like 90% of everything that's happened to me has been during the day. And third, if you go into the woods acting like a big idiot, is anything going to want to come around and be around you? No, probably not. But I was in my yard, and it was in the summertime, and it was a very still day. It was a hot day, no wind, perfectly still. It was later in the afternoon, probably around 5 o'clock, and I was watering my grass. And I was there with my daughter, and at the time she was 3 years old, a young 3 years old too. And she grabs onto my leg like death grip, and she's like, "Mommy, there's a Bigfoot over there. Don't let it get me." And I was like, "What?" And I looked up and started looking around, and I didn't see anything. I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And I just, tried to console her. I was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, honey. Mommy's here. I won't let anything happen to you. It's fine." And she was like, and she wouldn't let go of me. So I just kept watering the grass. Next thing I know, I'm standing there, and there's this tree about 100 feet from where I was standing. And this one tree on a perfectly still day starts violently shaking, like shaking so bad. And it's a tall tree too. It's probably about a 40, 50-foot tree, shaking. And so bad that I could hear it cracking. It was like crack, 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 like somebody was chicken choking it. And I was like, what is that? Why is that tree moving like that? Like, I was like, what is that? What is going on? And then it clicked. I was like, my daughter about a minute ago just told me she saw a Bigfoot, and now it's over there shaking a tree.
Wow.
And that was when I was like, okay, yeah, 100%. They're here. They're real, and they're here, and they're in my woods.
These little things you can't deny, can you?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how crazy it sounds. It's like,
yeah.
It happened.
Yeah. People give me a lot of crap about talking about Bigfoot, and I can't. I don't know what to say. It's like, I'm just telling people my experiences. Like, this is what happened. You can believe it or you can not believe it. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to try to prove anything to anybody. I'm just talking about what's happened to me. And actually, a lot of people have come to me in the flat Earth community who are being like, yeah, I've had those experiences too. So,
yeah.
but they don't want to talk about it, because I know when I first got into flat Earth, and I was like, I bet I can talk. I thought I could talk about anything, because like, dude, the Earth's flat. All these people think the Earth is flat. I'm sure anything's open for discussion, right? So I started talking about Bigfoot. I got shut down so quick. It's not even funny.
No, you're making
flat Earth look stupid.
You're making flat Earth look bad. I love that excuse. That's hilarious. Don't say any more. You're making us look stupid. It's like, how stupid can you look? You're ingrained brainwashing since birth that the most idiotic people on the planet are flat earthers. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's less daft than presenting a model.
That's just
There's
classic.
more evidence for Bigfoot than there is for the globe. That's all I got to say about that.
It's a Bigfoot psyop used to distract from the
Well
flash.
said.
Uh-oh.
Well, I've learned a bit there tonight.
They're
Thanks,
coming to see you,
Scott.
Josh.
That's
That was
not my dog.
That
I
was
think
me.
Is that your dog, Karen? They may
That
be
was
coming to visit. They heard you talking.
Let's,
Make
all,
sure you take a camera if you go look to see what it
Hemisphere's
is.
on. Gonna come in.
let's all get our dogs barking. See who's got the best bark.
Oh god, mine are annoying as hell.
Well, mine's a barking herd dog, so he doesn't. He herds by barking, which can be quite annoying.
I'd either have to fake it, John, or go and wake the chickens.
Oh, mate, you got to get a dog. Anyway,
I can't give the love a dog needs, mate. So I'm not prepared to get a dog. When I'm finished slave driving myself, do you know what I mean? Then
I'm going to get 10. I'm going to get 10. I'm going to start a doggery.
doggery.
Actually, that's probably the wrong word. That's probably what you
Take
do
me
on
to a doggery.
on the A303,
Yeah.
the petrol station. But no, I don't know, boarding home or something. Nah, it can't be a boarding home. A foster home. Yeah, because I couldn't have them every 2 weeks and then give them home, give them back again. That would be no good. But anyway, listen, on that, guys, we've now done an hour of puffing, and I think all the ballers are probably buggered off. I think we could probably take a break and come back with a little bit of flat Earth.
Breaks. I'm glad you mentioned breaks.
You might want to kill the feed as well.
Well, it's still early for a break. You
No.
should do a break at an hour and a half. We plan for 3 hours. Usually we try to do it at an hour and a half.
I know,
That
but
way-
I figured we'd exhausted the non-flat Earth stuff. I don't know. It's up to you. You've got your timers set
Coming
up.
with your I thank you for your reminder, but don't go throwing the boat, mate. I've got. You can't edit mid plan. But yeah, go on then.
If you say
Give me
so.
a second. No.
So, some non-flat Earth stuff I happen to have in with my space lettuce.
Go for it.
Oh,
There you go. Just to save the day.
are
I
you
mean,
talking?
really, is there such a thing as non-flat Earth stuff?
So,
Yeah, NASA, the ball, planets, black holes.
There's nothing wrong with fantasy. People have got to escape. So I suppose.
I can't. That stuff just pisses me off anymore. The video with Sandra Bullock and stuff like that, Matt Damon, I won't watch it. I refuse. I know it's fantasy, but so many people don't know it's fantasy, and that's what makes me mad about it. Is it's propaganda that, oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop now. My little rant there.
Well,
Just
there's
Flat Earth
another
unicorn,
flashback.
a Zach rant.
I got another flashback to the week there. Well, at my busy week, I met up with West Coast Wisdom this week. She came down
Awesome.
from Scotland to see her baby grandchild. So congratulations to her. Kind of lost my train of thought here, but we were